Hello and welcome back. This is actually going to be, I think it's going to be kind of its own standalone video, but it's also going to kind of be a part of a vlog that I've been thinking to do about my experience with like physical stuff. And it's funny because with the stuff that's going on, I'm really called back to some memories like, gosh, how long has it been? Well, I want to say I started doing like online articles a good like 12 years ago, maybe a little bit more. Anyways, it used to be that when I first like came across something, and this is when I actually started getting away from allopathic doctors for the most part and getting into like herbalism and botany and a lot of self-care stuff, nutrition and things like that. I would come across something that would happen and I would write about it. And I still have many articles. I have a couple aliases. My most popular one is under BizGenGirl on hub pages, and I laugh because some of my most popular articles were ones that I wrote more on a whim, like what 7 different colors of poop and what they mean, and because I was learning, I had IBS, and I was learning about like how to tell what your health is for this, and I really didn't expect it to be valuable at all, but it gets looked up a lot. Or, how can you do home care for an ingrown toenail? Or how do you get actual professional care for an ingrown toenail? Because a lot of people might think you go to a spa, but it's actually not the best place to go. There are some that are great, but a lot of people end up with infections going that way. And a lot of people end up with infections at home not knowing the right way to trim them, right? I've also had a lot of dental challenges, and like there's a lot of times in life you might end up with an abscess that you have to get yourself through at home until you can see a dentist, and sometimes it's really bad. So like I wrote an article about how do you care for an abscess at home if you have to, and so I what's funny is I thought in this moment, because of my low energy and stuff, well, maybe I'll do some more writing. But it's just not like, I mean, my hands and my arms are not functioning to the degree that they were, and I already have this channel going, and I'm going, it is kind of the next evolution to start vlogging about it. And so I think what this one is going to be is talking about like what it feels like. You know what? Let's go with what it feels like when you have a slipped disc, because that's what I'm looking at right now is the biggest thing, and it's the most disconcerting thing going on. And it's interesting because I like, my dad's had slip discs, and I know many other people that have had them, and I guess I never, like, I mean, I assumed that it would be painful, but like the actual feelings are different, and like, what can go on in your body is different. Now, according to the MRIs, what I have is I had a degenerating disc, so degenerative disc disease, fairly common with a lot of people. It hurts a lot of people. It also doesn't bother a lot of people. But what can happen when the disc finally wears away is that then you've got 2 vertebrae that are touching each other. And now, in my imagination, now I should preface this is my experience of it. This might not be your experience of it. Don't just take what I'm saying, and I'm certainly not a medical professional or anything. I'm just sharing my experience because I value learning from other people's individual experiences as much as like studies and collect in like actual medical reports and things. So do with it, you follow your own instincts and intuition and do your homework well. In any case, I never really pictured that you would feel anything, and I can tell you, like, one of the most disconcerting things is like, pain you can expect. The muscles in your back, when your disc starts to slip, they're gonna try to compensate in some sort of way. I mean, that's the muscles that are around your spine are there for a reason, and when even if you lose just small centimeters of space, that throws off what your body's doing. So yeah, you're likely to have muscle pains, but you might not. In fact, one of the things that I've noticed is I get more pain from the arthritic joints and from the herniated and ruptured discs that I have than I do from the slip disc itself. The muscles around it hurt, yes, but what I notice actually is Like I cannot stay in one position for very long. I have to lay down, I have to get up, and then I do have to walk around a little bit sometimes. Otherwise, things like really freeze up. Now, you may or may not have that. That depends on if you have some sort of arthritis going on and how you slip the disc and things like that. But what I noticed is, especially, like, I can tell when it's time for me to like stretch out and go lay down, or stretch out and get up, because I can actually feel in my back the disc being out of place. Like if I'm sitting, it feels like it's like it's I can't feel it like bone touching bone, but I can feel it kind of moving out of place, like compressing and then moving in a way that it shouldn't be. And I can feel that in my back, and I never would have expected to feel that. And when I'm laying down, if I'm all, I'm stretched out, I've got pillows to support different things, my legs or my arms and things like that, and my neck, because I've got other vertebrae that are in a weird, in weird conditions. And I can feel almost what it feels like, as if they're, like, if I don't get my back flat and it's supported and flat, but it can't be too soft of a surface. But when I get comfortable, even if I'm laying comfortable for a while, it feels almost like it's like one side or the other will kind of do this a little bit. And I've been trying to do isometric exercises, which is small exercises where you'll, intentionally squeeze and release certain muscles. It took a little bit of time to even be able to do that with some of my back muscles, not just because of pain, but just because how often do you consciously think about those muscles, and can I move this one? Can I move that one? And just trying to keep my core strength as good as possible while I have to be doing a lot of inactive things. And that does help to a certain degree, especially in the mornings. Now, for me, like, I don't know how much of this is related to some kind of arthritis, because I'm just now getting a doctor's help or my naturopath's help in getting an actual diagnosis about what the heck is going on. Now, for me, what I notice is that I have two things that happen. Usually, they say you have one. Either it feels better with activity, and like you can, it will start to hurt after a while, so you want to rest. But generally, it feels better with activity. But then, like, or the other kind is that it feels worse with activity, and so you rest more. Now, I know there's multiple things going on with me, so it's funny because I get both. Like, it feels better when I'm up and active, but then it starts to hurt worse if I'm up and active for too long. And likewise, it feels worse if I rest too long, but it feels worse if I don't rest enough. So it's kind of a fun game back and forth in there. And I suppose that I add that in there for those of you that, you may find yourselves thinking that you have one thing and there's a couple of things going on. So don't be shy about speaking up to your doctor. And if you're in a situation like mine, if you have a doctor who's not listening to you, find another doctor. It can be scary, especially if you've been dealing with things for a while, but do it. Now, in terms of like muscle pain, I feel it in my mid and low back. But what I've noticed, is, and this is why the ER doctors threw me in for an MRI, is because the slipped disc is pushing against my L5 nerve, and that creates a fair amount of, they call it radiculopathy, and it is quite ridiculous. Like, I get numbness down the top and bottom of my legs and things of like that nature, and like when I lay down, my feet go numb and things like that start to happen. And that's, that it is painful in a pins and needle and a cold and a numbness sort of way. And it's painful in like when I try to walk, I get this strange sort of tension, or almost like a pressure and a tension that's just like telling my legs no, like they don't want to go, or that if I go much further, they're not going to support me. And then I'll do a different video about the bulging disc, but sometimes you can have multiple things, and the L5S1 right beneath that has a, sorry, I keep calling it bulging. That's what it started out as. The herniated and ruptured disc down below that is pushing on my S1 nerve. And so there's a couple of different things in there causing different things. And you can see some similar symptoms between the two nerves, but they do different things in there. I'm trying not to overlap too much and try to stick to like what I know of each individual thing as I've learned about it. So I think I'm going to leave this here, and I'll do a separate video about like the experience of the herniated disc and stuff like that. You know what I will say with the slip disc for me, like it started out as low back pain that just persisted, like a constant dull ache. And that's the kind of stuff that my allopaths ignored for a long time. And my naturopath says that, yeah, there's a lot of times that they do that. They'll just go, oh, no, it can't possibly bother you that much, because for some people it doesn't bother them at all. And if there is a bigger problem, like if that's all you have, sure. But usually, especially if you're at a younger age, like you're under 40, there's usually a bigger problem if you're already seeing degenerating discs and things like that. So, you know, it can be small, but if you're experiencing that, there are lots of really great videos on how to start working on that and how to get your health in a better position and how to do exercises to help with that. And I'll talk about some of the ones that I've been doing over time that I've just learned on my own because, you know, doctors and physical therapists weren't helping very much. And also just some things I've been able to do even when I'm not able to do much that I know is helping. And even my naturopath is saying it's really good that I do things like that. But for right now, this is just, you know, what I've been feeling on that. So that, I don't know, anyone else going through it, you don't feel alone. And if you feel like you're having similar symptoms, and I can be a voice that says, yeah, you're not alone in having that. It's not, um, you know what? I'm going to add in there too. There are plenty of people that with things like this, it can be very bad and you can still be walking. It took me a while to look up some good information on it, because a lot of people, by the time you get that place, you have trouble walking, and a lot of like not being able to walk. But it doesn't mean just because you can still walk a little bit does not mean it's not bad. And I had many doctors that told me that, and by the time that I got to real help, it was actually, even at the ER, it was kind of like before the ER, it's like, oh, it can't be, or it can't, before the MRIs, it can't be that bad. And then after the MRIs, how are you still walking? Like even with the, you know, the slip disc and things like that. And it's more because I'm used to living with a fair amount of pain from being, you know, minimized in a lot of it. And I didn't want to become somebody that could not walk. Just, you know, I didn't want to do it. I wanted to keep walking. And I'm still determined at this rate. I'm now down to using a cane again, and it's getting close to not walking, but I don't want to lose that function, and I don't want to lose all of my muscle mass. So yes, you can still walk. It's hard, and a lot of you's gonna not want to do it, and you got to be careful not to overdo it. But don't let anybody tell you that just because you can still walk that it's not that bad. Like, don't freak out about it too either, but don't be minimized in it just because you don't fit the perfect demographic of what it should look like to get help, to be bad enough to get help. All right, I'm gonna leave it here. Thanks for watching if you enjoyed this, and I'll catch you in the next video.